They could have, both of them, but neither one of them did. A couple of good men. And I still talk to both of them. And Jerry Slick is very funny and very honest. Somebody called up for one reason or another to find out about me and asked him a bunch of questions. And he was very honest. Some of it's painful, but he made out a copy of what he had said and said here and sent it to me. So I've been around an awful lot of good people, and nobody's ever hurt me. The only person who's hurt me is me. If you buy into a situation with a screwball or something, I lived with a guy who was crazy for 2 years. Finally, I had to send him home because he was nuts and physically violent, and I don't do that. I'll argue with you forever, but I don't do hitting and throwing dishes and all that. But he had a brilliant mind. He's the same guy that I mentioned before who said, you've got a good mind, but there's nothing in it. But he's bipolar, and he didn't want to take the medicine for it. So I thought, well, that's not too good, because if you just want to argue, fine, I'll do that. I love that. Don't throw me around the room. Sorry, that's out.
That's unacceptable.
It's uneven. I don't like, I feel comfortable verbally, but physically, a woman is not as, he's 6'2", you know, that's not fair.
But so what I was getting at was, is there a spiritual component to the White Rabbit, do you think? In addition to it having been a major part of your life?
For me, he represents curiosity and instruction. In other words, he's always ahead of her. She follows him.
I see.
And she's got cojones because she follows him regardless of where he goes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the situations in Alice in Wonderland are not pleasant. And there's some political stuff in there, the Queen saying off with her head and everything, which is a reference to the British setup. But all political stuff is pretty much the same whether you wear funny hats or not, you know. And so her ability to follow her curiosity, I believe for me, he represents her curiosity. And life is very short, and it's not what you did that you regret, it's what you didn't do. I've never been to the Middle East. I regret that. I can't go now because I can't fly because of this crazy foot thing. But that, I don't know what you asked me, because I generally go off on some kind of a tangent.
That's okay. Well, I think I was talking about a spiritual component or dimension to the White Rabbit as a symbol in your art.
Yeah.
Both types of art, visual and musical, of course.
Well, I don't know how spiritual it is. It is I'm being the Chrome Nun here. That's what David Crosby is a nickname he had for me. He called Paul Kantner Baron von Tollbooth, because Paul's German, and he is somewhat proud of it. So David gave him that nickname. And he called me the Chrome Nun, and I've never asked him, because I talked to him about a week ago or something. I said, what was the Chrome Nun? He said, I don't know. And I've made up what I thought he meant, which is generally my lyrics were telling people how to behave. I'm very teacherish, and chrome is modern, a modern thing. You don't have chrome in the 1500s. So I'm a modern nun. The Chrome Nun, I'm telling people what I think they ought to do, which is kind of odd because I was very young, most of those lyrics. But I still agree with them. One song ends 2,000 years of your glory. And that is the business of the Crusades. People wonder why the Twin Towers came down. I don't like the idea. I'm sorry for the people's families and the people, but if you don't read history, you're bound to repeat it. You can't go, and we're experiencing more of it. Now they're annoyed in the Middle East because we keep going in there telling them what to do. They never came to England and told the British what to do. They never came over here. They never did, the Middle Easterners. We'd be so infuriated and pissed off and do all kinds of ugly stuff if they did. But we've gone in there, the Crusades, and killed a bunch of people. I love the disparity. We killed them because they wouldn't believe in Jesus. Now, what kind of deal? Who's going to like that?
It's very un-Christian.
And they remembered it.
Yeah.
And they remember every time we go in there, and we wouldn't have anything to do with them if they didn't have oil. You can be sure of that, because it's too foreign to us, what's going on in the Middle East. The thing about the Middle East is that they've been doing it to each other for 5,000 years too. Okay, you want to live like that, fine. But I don't want to have anything to do with it. That's why I have an electric car. I don't want to buy any oil. I don't even like this country's oil. I don't want to buy any oil. But I can't get away with that. I got to use gas and some oil.
Yeah.
But
it's all around us generally.
But we've gone there to hammer them more than they've hammered us. So they're not happy with that. They don't want us all over everything. Every time something happens, we send somebody somewhere to deal with it or to straighten them out. Maybe they don't want to be straightened out.
We're the world's policemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's rude. Nobody asked us to do that. They're perfectly willing to accept money. Same way children will accept you taking care of them, but it's not a good idea, because how are you going to learn how to take care of yourself?
So I was going to ask you if there is anybody in the past that you would say strongly influenced your spirituality.
Richard Alpert.
Oh, right, of course, that's right. We talked about
Ramdas.
that. That's right, okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Somebody handed me some tapes of his about, I don't know, 1979 or something. And I kept getting tapes and tapes. I thought, this guy's fantastic. Because he's a Westerner who studied Eastern religion. And that combination was fantastic. But he's also Jewish. So there's a knowledge of Christianity, knowledge of Judaism. He was a professor at Harvard along with Timothy Leary. And he and Timothy went on a speaking tour together, and they are very different. He's quiet and thoughtful, and Timothy Leary's like, rowdy Irish. So the two of them together, and they've always been friends, but they're very different. But he has a bunch of tapes. Ramdas has a bunch of tapes, Richard Alpert, and they're just fantastic.
Have you gotten a chance to meet him or study under him on a personal?
Yes, I have.
Oh, that's great.
I think there's a picture of me and him on the ice box. I'm not sure where, somewhere in the house. But yeah, he, and this is a crazy ass spiritual thing to say. He reminded me on those tapes and in books of what I already know. That's what religion is, reminds you of something you already know. Because I think we're born with it.
Right.
I think it is inculcated not by parents, but by it, that Yahweh.
Yeah.
And it is in there, and you are simply reminded of how it is. Is that too crazy for you?
No, not at all.
Not
Socrates
you.
talked.
I was looking at the
I'm sorry.
camera.
Yeah.
It's not too crazy for him, because that's what he does for a living, is be crazy. And
I said, who are you talking to over there? Who is this?
Spiritual crazy stuff. I don't know. I'm looking directly at the people who are watching it. It sounds crazy to say it's already there and you're simply being reminded. But it is something that I learned, somebody said it, and I thought about it for a long time, and I thought, yeah, that feels right down here, not just up here. Because I knew the program of AA intellectually. I could say all the paragraphs and the steps and all that. But to have it sink all the way in, that took quite a bit of time. Some people are more open to the gut feeling. I live mostly here. So I knew the program, but it didn't really sink in there and apply to me. It applied to all of you. It didn't necessarily apply to me. So it doesn't work that way. You're on this planet too, honey. So, and sometimes it takes a while for me to pick something up. Sometimes it happens quickly. I don't know. Depends on the day or who's saying it. But yeah, Ramdas mainly as an individual. Also, Jimi Hendrix. Not anything he said, but who he was and how the American situation of going into the Army, which he did, and believing in it, and within about a year and a half, understanding the whole, almost 180 degrees of how things work, and becoming who he became. I think he represents the 60s better than any other single individual. Now the groups, obviously, they're, you know, Rolling Stones and the Beatles and what have you, but as an individual, where he came from, and the unusualness of Seattle, and from the army, from the beliefs that he had, from poverty, into this magnificent musician, entertainer, the things that he wore, colorful. We were busy throwing off beige. Let's make it colorful, make it loud, set the guitar on fire. A bunch of us at Monterey Pop Festival had never seen him. We'd heard him on record, so we knew he was good, but we'd never seen him. And we were behind the black curtains on either side of the stage when he played. And we were all just, all the rest of the musicians were just like, you know, this amazing ability, musical ability, ability to entertain. And we'd never seen anybody set fire to a guitar before, you know, and we were just appalled by this guy. The guy was just amazing. But he sort of represented in one person what we had in mind, you know, is the color, the talent. Yes, you do have to pay attention to your art, whatever it is, a saxophone, a guitar, I don't care what it is. You have to practice. In between, you take the drugs. You don't do that as a rule on stage. I mean, even Jim Morrison, who got more loaded than anybody I've ever seen on a regular basis, you can't do it all the time, otherwise nobody'd hire you again, because you'd be a slob hanging on, you know, throwing up on the side of the stage. So you have to take care of everything. And a lot of women that I grew up with did not exert the interest in a lot of things that they might have. There was a woman that I went to private school with who I met years and years later at China's school. She had a child going to school there. And she came up to me and she said, "Do you remember me? I'm blah, blah, blah." Oh, yeah. Because she was the blonde, long-legged ballet dancer, straight A student. And she married a diplomat's son, Jimmy Gaither. And she said, "Boy, I wish I'd done what you did." Because she got stuck in, she loves her children. I'm not saying, you know, she loved her children, probably loved her husband, but there's a certain stuckness that a lot of women accepted. And because they were told to, or they thought they had to. And a lot of us didn't accept that. We wanted it all. The kids, the job, the husband and or lover, whatever it is, the traveling, the whole deal. And some stuff is going to suffer. It just is. China felt she was abandoned because both her mother and father would take off at the same time for months. So I can understand that. She loved her nanny, and who just passed away in the last year. But she loved her. But still, when mom and dad go away, does that mean they love music more than they love me? Maybe. Yeah. Otherwise, why would you do it? Right. So she may have something there. But I'm selfish and I wanted all of it. The men, the job, the kids, the whole deal. And I think now women, it's not the same. Right. They are very definitely into what kind of career do I want. And the juggling of career and children's a little tricky. I'm warning you. They can get real mad at you later on for not being there. Where's my pablum? You know. So, but almost anything is tricky. I mean, if you're a man and you work really hard at what you do, then the woman gets her, how come we can never go out? You're always at the, you know.
You're always so tired at the end of the day.
Yeah, or we're tired at the end of the day. We just want to come home and give me a scotch and I'm going to pass out. So it's tricky no matter how it goes. And that doesn't have anything to do with the question that you started, which was the white
okay.
rabbit representing spirituality.
Well, I think we had also gotten onto some of your spiritual influences, and you mentioned was it Frank Alpert, or what was his American name? Fred Alpert?
Richard Alpert.
Richard Alpert, but Ram Dass.
Yeah.
It's funny, I always chuckle about the name Ram Dass because there was a historical Ram Dass in India in the 1500s who was a painter.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the modern Ram Dass.
It's common. Ram is God, and I think Das is appreciation of God or something like that.
Sure.
But that's the last word that Gandhi said when he died, is Ram. So he's going to God, or going to be with, or you did this, you ass, or something. I don't know what.
Oh my God, I'm shot.
Yeah. God, this is ugly.
Yeah. Ooh, that hurts. Yeah.
I mean, you can be perfectly happy with the idea of God and not like, say, physical pain. I don't like physical pain, but I understand that it happens. We're in a form, and that's going to happen to forms. If all your nerves are working right, you're going to feel physical pain from time to time for whatever, toothaches or I broke my arm, I've had operations, I don't like that. But I also know there's morphine. So, there's always something. People who study, particularly the Eastern religions, they don't do it so much in the West, but this business of sitting in a cell, not because you're bad, but because you choose to, sitting in a cell all day. They'll shove a bowl of rice under at noon or something, or you can walk for an hour a day. The rest of the time you're by yourself in a cell, trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And I just admire people who can do that. I have trouble meditating. My mind is so busy leaping around from wall to wall, But I'm a pretty happy guy, so whatever's going on is okay by me, and
So now we've talked a little bit about the spiritual component of a lot of the music from the 60s, and of course that was a major theme in terms of the religious and social upheaval. Do you find that today's music is lacking in that? Do you find that there are certain musicians that seem to focus more on the spiritual and the noble and the sublime, and others don't? I mean, where do you feel today's music is going in terms of that?
They all do from time to time. Some songs are just gritty sex, blah, 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 bling and screwing your girlfriend. And some songs, and that's fine, superfluous little, ditties, whether it's rap, whether it's acid rock, who cares? And some songs are very spiritual. And I usually listen to classic rock because it's like my parents listened to Hoagy Carmichael, and people that they didn't understand rock and roll, but we used to have one or two ballads on every record, and they always liked those best because that's the kind of music they're used to listening to. And it's the same thing with me. My generation is more rock and roll than it is rap, and that doesn't mean, well, you're black, because Eminem is a white rapper. And I like him. I like his stuff. If I can understand the lyrics, I'm good. If you have a big Southern accent, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been good with English, and they have some great English movies on TV, and I tend to go for the American ones because I don't know what they're talking about half the time. I don't understand. I'm not good with languages. And one time I had to go retrieve a car in L.A. We were down here recording quite a while ago, 80s. Had to get my car back. I'd parked in the wrong place, or it was towed because it was broken or something, in this lot. And this wonderful little old black guy, we were talking while my ex-husband was getting the papers to get the car out. The black guy turned to me and said, "You find LA Lego?" And I memorized it. I play by ear, right?
Yeah.
I had no idea what he asked me, but I remembered the thing, and I got back to the studio. And the guy that sang with me in Starship is Mickey Thomas, and he's from Georgia. Yeah. So I said, "Mickey, what am I saying?" "Hey, you fan of LA Lego?" And he said, "Are you a fan of the LA Lakers?" So I'm just terrible. I can memorize it phonetically. Same thing with foreign languages. I don't speak another language but English. I know a lot of Spanish because I've lived in California for a long time, but it's nouns. It's all nouns.
Right.
Like Palo Alto means tall tree, but I can name a lot of Spanish stuff. But phonetically, I used to memorize songs in Spanish. And I just asked the janitor at the recording studio at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was writing a song and I wanted to transfer it. I didn't want to do it in English. I wanted to do it in Spanish because the music I was writing was Spanish. And so I would ask him, how do you say da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And he'd tell me. I'd write it down and I'd just sing it phonetically. I had no idea what I was talking about. I trusted him in the translation.
He wasn't going to screw you up and give you some horrible curses or something.
Or maybe he did, but nobody ever wrote to me and said, wow, that's ugly, So. But I can't hear, oddly enough, because a musician you should be able to hear. I can't hear English dialects. Southerners, they have a thick Southern accent. I have no idea what they're talking about. I went to England to do something or other, press for something, and I went to an AA meeting. I had no idea what they were talking about because they were all Scottish, thick Scottish brogue or whatever you call the Scottish stuff. The only thing that made sense to me were the signs on the wall. I recognized them. It was written in English, so I'm good there.
It wasn't written with the accent.
No, it wasn't written with it. Yeah. So I don't know why, but I've never been good at that.
Well, we were just talking about some of the modern music, and if you feel that it is in any way significant, spiritually significant, are any composers or musicians today contributing the same level of spiritual sublimeness that so many composers and artists were in the 60s? I mean, you almost think like, well, the entire decade of the 60s and slightly afterward was just people writing about social change and spirituality, and is anyone doing that today? Are enough people doing it today? Should more people do it
I'm sure
today?
they are,
Yeah.
but nothing that I wrote that I can remember was obviously spiritual, because I wasn't. I was busy being a temporal and meat influenced, how's the meat feeling? I think about all the songs, and the only one that is even anywhere near spiritual is Panda Song. He lives all alone, but the bamboo forest knows him. Now his land is taken by man. He's got nowhere left to go. So I'm feeling bad about destroying stuff and taking away land from animals. That's about as spiritual. But a lot of the stuff I got was nasty. Chemical change, you've shattered the warning, amber light, wake me warm, let me see you moving everything over. I'm talking about chemicals, not spirit. Mulligan stew for Bloom, the only Jew in the room. Saxons are sick on the holy dregs and they're constant getting throw up on his legs. What weird lyrics. That comes from Ulysses. I was paraphrasing some of the stuff in Ulysses. And it is aimed at people, and it is, in other words, don't be racially blocked off, but it's said with such sarcasm and darkness that I can't. So I didn't really write anything that you could say was, isn't that beautiful? One of the best ones lately is Sarah McLachlan.
Oh, okay.
That one song that she did, just stunning song. But I can't remember what it was, so I can't talk about it. But yeah, the kids occasionally write about that. Occasionally it's temporal, occasionally it's spiritual, occasionally it's not very bright, and occasionally it's brilliant, and you just go, wow. And
the one I'm thinking of, is it Mummer's Dance? Is that the one by Sarah McLachlan?
Sarah McLachlan, no, it's something about angel, something about heaven. But it's not poorly written. It's very well written, and it's hard to do that. In other words, part of our thing in the 60s was to write some love songs, but there's so many other subjects beside romantic love. You can write a song about anything.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like anybody noticed that before. It was all about romantic love, except a couple of things during the Second World War. They were trying to make people feel okay. Mares eat oats and does eat oats, and little lambs eat ivy. Kittle eat ivy too, why don't you? and a tisket, a tasket, a green and yellow basket. That's all Second World War stuff, but they're silly songs to make people feel lighter, because it was, you know, a little bit heavy. But for the most part, they're all romantic songs.
Interesting.
And Marty was good at that. I have never written a love song, ever, because I can't do anything that's, I'm starting to write one now. That's how long it's taken me. I don't know who I'm going to give it to or what I'm going to do with it. But I finally got love never goes away. And that's one of the repeated lines. And it's not romantic as much as it is the love that we kind of would like to be able to experience and give. And it's a general, close to unconditional situation, rather than, gee, I'd really like to take your pants off. That's another form of love, form of entertainment.
Right.
I don't mind people screwing people. I think it's fine. You know, it's, you can do it with a lot of spirituality involved, or you can do it like you go to a movie for entertainment for one night. What's the matter with that? That's fine. But a lot of you will not agree with me because you have certain ethics that you live by, and that's great. You go ahead and live by them.
I love it. I love it.
You
Who are
and-
these people
you
she's
and
talking to? I don't see them.
Mitt can live by his too. I don't care.
So what else do you want to accomplish? What else do you feel that you want to do on a spiritual level or on a non-spiritual level? I mean,
For me, it's the peeling away of the onion. It's like an onion. You peel layers off and you go, oh yeah, I didn't need that. That's not necessary. And I do that with the kids. I call them kids. Seth is 53. I do it with the kids. You know, there's something they are doing I could correct, but they have to learn it themselves. You let them make a mistake. Let them go ahead and make a mistake. Shut up and listen. And if they ask for something, fine. But I have to stop offering, being the chrome nun is the deal. Because people aren't asking for it. Now, they had no choice when I was in a rock and roll band, because rock and roll is so loud. And I get up on the stage and start singing stuff. What are they going to say? Shut up? Nobody'd hear them. Because we're the ones with the volume. You know? So, captive audiences.
if you don't like it, don't buy the tickets.
That's right. That's very true. And that goes for a lot of stuff. If you don't like it, don't buy the tickets. You don't have to do anything about other people. Just don't buy a ticket. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, don't buy any. So I don't.
So if you want, we can end it off. Is there anything else you want to say in closing or anything like that?
As far as implementing this business of people accepting each other's stuff. And the old me, and it's still in there, would say, shut up and do what you want to do and get out of other people's hair. The new me doesn't have any idea how you accomplish that, because you can't say shut up to people. They don't like it. They take offense. They take umbrage.
It's a good
So
word.
I don't know, and that's why talking to you and talking to China, I don't know what you guys are going to do.
Well, since
But
you've
I
asked.
love the idea that you have it in mind.
Yeah.
That's where it starts anyway, you know, heart, mind, soul, whatever you want to call it, is you have the idea of how can we get people to stop killing each other, particularly over religion. And I thank you for that effort and for thinking that it can be done. If you think it can be done, it probably can. I don't know how long it'll take. Like, people are annoyed at Obama, you know. Well, look at how screwed up we are. How long do you think it's going to take? It's going to take a while. Relax. But thank you. I'll end with that. Thank you for initiating this thing.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you you know, as I had said, in many ways, you're an inspiration to me. The things you've done in your life, the things that you've taken part in terms of that social upheaval that we talked about, that whole era of the 60s proved to a lot of people, not only in America, but around the world, that you can make a difference and you must make a difference. And you know, my parents are the same age as you. They listened to different music at that time, but they brought me up with that concept of if you try hard enough, you can make a difference and you must make a difference. You have a responsibility to this world to make a difference.
Yeah, you do.
So, not that I want to die, but I am willing to die trying. This is my responsibility to encourage and promote religious tolerance and interfaith dialogue. And I'm grateful that China is on board as a whatever you want to call her, a volunteer, an advisory council member. I appreciate that you support this cause and you're willing to lend your face and your words to supporting it. And it's something we have to do.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
For being here, for letting us be here.
Thank you guys. All the Ariks.
So
the glory of the Ariks.
Yeah. So once again, I'd like to thank Grace Slick for allowing us to be in her home, her beautiful home, and be in her presence, and to hear her wisdom and her charming stories and her thoughts, and hear a little bit about what motivates her. And we'll be editing this shortly and putting it out for everybody to look at. It'll be on the website, of course. It'll also be on YouTube, and hopefully we'll talk to you again in the future.
Oh, good. Yeah.
We know China is actually going to be on the show as a guest co-host, so there'll be times she'll be doing what I'm doing. So maybe at some point the two of you can talk together if it's something that interests you.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, I want to thank everybody for viewing the Religion Matters Show, a production of the Institute for Religious Tolerance, Peace, and Justice. And stay tuned for other interesting episodes, but I'm sure they're not going to be nearly as interesting as this one. But anyway, they'll be interesting nonetheless. So be well, be blessed, and we'll see you next time.